Hi, my name is Sanam, and welcome to this special edition of TF.N Digital. Today, we go one-on-one with Star Wars Episode 2 model maker, Lorne Peterson. Having worked on such legendary films as Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Empire Strikes Back, Lorne gives us a candid look into his contribution to the magic of the myth. Let's go to the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston, Texas, and find out about Lorne's first encounter with George Lucas. How did you get started working with George Lucas?
Well, actually, when I very first started working on the Star Wars series, which was in '75, I didn't actually know who George Lucas was. I mean, I'd heard of American Graffiti, of course. I started working on the Star Wars series through friends that were in college, and they asked me to work on, they said, would you like to work on a science fiction film? But it took me a while to actually know that it was George Lucas's film, and that the guy that with the beard that would show up every once in a while at nighttime was the director. He probably said I'm George, but I'd never made the connection with George Lucas.
So what is it like working with George Lucas? Does he sort of stand back and let you do your work and then come in and edit?
He's always been a director who, he allowed for quite a bit of creativity in what we do. I one time saved up a bunch of questions. He arrived, I asked the questions, and he said, sounds like that's your job to me. And maybe that illustrates a little bit of, he's not down to minutely directing how this will go and that will go. It's like he directs the bigger picture of things and not necessarily the day-to-day operations.
What do you think some of the misconceptions are when you tell people that you are a model maker and that you are involved with the Star Wars movies?
One of them is that everything's done CG these days. The model shop is probably on Phantom Menace was a little bit over 100 people, with a company that was about 1,200 people. And then the other misconception is, or one of the other ones is, to people like my mother's generation, they'll say I worked on Star Wars, and they imagine you did the whole thing.
Is there anything you can tell us about the next movie? Like maybe a look or a feel that's different from Episode 1?
I actually don't know that much, and I've just barely started it. The characters are older, I know that. But you know that too. Natalie Portman is a love interest, and so is Anakin. You already know that kind of thing. But I personally don't yet know a lot of those details.
Will you be working on Episode 2 full time?
It remains to be seen. Sometimes we put out fires. When I was doing Phantom Menace, all of a sudden, right near the end, I was doing a lot of the rock formations that you saw in the slides there for Mos Espa Arena. And all of a sudden, Wild Wild West came along, and I switched over to Wild Wild West for a while, and then back on Phantom Menace. So it's really hard to predict the future, exactly how that'll happen.
How do you decide if something will be better to do with models instead of computer animation or computer graphics?
It's really not decided by us at all. As I described in the talk about Arch Canyon, we were going down two different pathways. One was a total CG solution. The other one was a model and CG solution.
Is there any particular model that you're especially proud of?
Slave 1 is one of my favorites, and just because I made sure that I saved time to do it. Oh, like the Millennium Falcon, the big Millennium Falcon is in there, and there's many sections that I did the whole part to. The whole back end of the engine, both top and bottom, was something I did. And I did the sections that lead out to the exits to the side off where the cockpit is.
Is there anything hidden in the models?
Actually, all of our names are hidden on almost every model, too. The model makers write their names in really small, 16th inch high, 8th inch high, depending on where it goes in all the models. There were a lot of German soldiers. We used a lot of German tanks, so we had a lot of these real small-scale German soldiers, and we put them together in unusual configurations and stuff them into different places in the model. And model makers still do that.
Is there any particular special effect that people would know was done by ILM that just looks normal?
People don't think of Out of Africa as being a film that has any special effects in it, and yet I was Meryl Streep. No. What it is, in the beginning there's a train, and there was no train in the scene. They found a perfect spot in Africa that didn't have any roads, the giant grassy veld from high up on a cliff and all that stuff. But there was no train, and it needed to be a vintage train anyway from the 20s. And so we made a train and put it in front of a blue screen and put it into that scene. Will my mother call up and say, I saw you on the computer.
Special thanks go out to Lorne Peterson for giving us his time and access. And I hope your mother is watching. Hello, Mrs. Peterson. And if you haven't seen it yet, check out The Magic of the Myth at the Museum of Fine Arts exhibit in Houston, Texas. It will be there from March 11th through June 24th, 2001. Thank you for joining us on the special edition of TF.N. Digital. We hope you'll join us again soon. On our next special, we speak to Duff Chang, the design director of Star Wars Episode II.